Hello and welcome to the third edition of An English Guy Watching Wrestling. I'm the English Guy, Nick West, welcome to the video. And if you missed the first two videos, basically this is going to be me reviewing wrestling shows as each week comes along. Now, it's going to be mostly the same three promotions, AEW, Impact Wrestling and Ring of Honor, and possibly some British independent shows once they're up and running. But I reviewed AEW Dark earlier today and Ring of Honor Television, so of course that leaves Impact. Now, before I get to the review, I will say Impact Wrestling is really firing on all cylinders right now. Doing some fantastic shows. Hard to Kill pay-per-view this past weekend was just superb. Great pay-per-view and a great wrestling company to watch right now. I mean, I really like watching Impact, and I started watching Impact towards the end of last year. And it's kind of a sense of nostalgia. I watched it a long time, years ago, but stopped watching it. For no real reason, to be completely honest. But I started watching it again, and it's just been great to watch. And this week was definitely no different. Impact this week was a superb show. So, that being said, let's get into it. Opening match was Eric Young versus Rhino. Now, Rhino is, of course, a veteran in the business. I call him a legend now, to be honest, because of how long he's been around. Eric Young, of course, part of now the same group as a group with Joe Doring and Cody Dean. It's called Violent by Design versus Rhino. Now, I've never seen Eric Young and Rhino have a singles match before, and this was the first singles match I've ever seen them have. But it was a good singles match, to be honest, and I really enjoyed what both men brought to the table, and it's just really good to see Eric Young's faction now, shall we say, get more and more steady as it goes along. Excuse me. It's really enjoyable to see them picking up momentum they are. Of course, Eric Young, not too long ago, held the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. Lost it. But it's still really good to see him where he is. It's like he's getting a really good spot. And this matchup was very renowned very interesting because of how the match finished. And for those who know what happened last year, Rich Swann had a career-threatening injury, legitimate, to his leg. And Eric Young faced him in a match and put a heel hook on him, and obviously to injure the leg further as part of the storyline. Did exactly the same thing to Rhino. So it's that level of viciousness, Violent by Design, of course, coming up to more and more steady. And of course, after the match, working on the leg and more because Rhino submitted when a heel hook was put in. And it's great to see something a bit different because Eric Young's finisher is usually a pile driver. Not this time around. It was actually the heel hook. Eric Young won the match in a good opener. I enjoyed this match. So, on to the next match. Next match was Kimberly and Susan versus Jordan, Grace, and Jazz. Now, I kind of like what Kimberly and Donna Perazzo is doing right now. Is a little while back, they went to James Mitchell, and of course, everyone knows who James Mitchell is, formerly the Sinister Minister, and decided they wanted to kind of take away who Sue Young was and make her Susie again. Of course, not quite this time. Diana and Kimberly asked James Mitchell if he could interfere and help them out. He did, but he didn't get Susie. Well, Susan, which is another alter ego for Sue Young. And you know what? I really like what they're doing with it. To me, it's great. And Susan wrestling in a suit was very unique, but also kind of cool. And this was a good women's tag match, actually. And of course, those who know, Jazz is, I think the best way to describe it, on her retirement tour right now. And has teamed with Jordan before, of course, in the Knockout Championship tournament. Lost in that tournament, but it's basically a very unique tag team, so to speak. I mean, obviously, Jordan Grace, one of the most powerful women in wrestling, Jazz, a wrestling legend. To face a team of Kimberly and Susan, very unique pairing. But this match was good. I enjoyed it. And of course, Jazz getting pinned by Kimberly after the interference from Diana, and kind of like a bit of a heated moment between Jordan and Jazz after the match. So possible feud there. I wouldn't mind seeing that, to be honest, because they've had a match before at Genesis. Perhaps have another match this time. Who knows? we'll see. But enjoyable, very enjoyable women's tag match. Next match was Brian Myers versus Fala. Now, it was great to see both these guys back on Impact's wrestling television again in terms of matches. I haven't seen Brian Myers for a while. I haven't seen Fala for a while, but this was actually a really good match. Fala, for a guy his size, can move, and I mean move quick. And it's great to see. Brian Myers, of course, a veteran by now in this business. If you've seen him before, you know exactly who he is. Still does a great job in the ring and is still watchable. And of course, doing the most professional wrestler gimmick is actually something I really like. And Fala has his more light-hearted side, if you've ever seen him in what he's done before. But when he gets serious, it's actually good to watch too. And this was a good match. I liked it. Not surprisingly, a mid-card match because of how good these two are. They could have been anywhere on the card and make it look great. This was almost main event quality, to be honest. I liked it. And Brian Myers finishing the match with the clothesline from Stanford was great. It wasn't the main event, but the main event was the main event for a very good reason, which brings us on to the main event itself. Now, earlier in the night, the Good Brothers came out, obviously, after their six-man tag match at Hard to Kill when they tagged with AEW World Heavyweight Champion Kenny Omega to face Rich Swann, Moose, and Chris Sabin. Now, those who know, Alex Shelley, who is Chris Sabin's tag team partner, his usual partner, the Motor City Machine Guns, was supposed to be tagging with Rich Swann. Alex Shelley couldn't make it because of travel issues. It happens. Fair enough. But, of course, Chris Sabin came out after the Good Brothers were in the ring earlier in the night for a promo. But he says, I don't have a tag partner. Wait. Yes, I do. Who comes out? James Storm. And, of course, James Storm, perhaps the most revered and best tag team wrestler in all of Impact history. Along with Bobby Roode, I'll say that. Obviously, being money. But James Storm, Impact legend for sure. So good to see him back up. I've always liked James Storm, no matter if he's a singles wrestler or a tag team wrestler. And good to see Beer, as it was, I think tag team, Beer Guns. That's what the tag team's called. Great to see them. And of course, you thought, okay, they're going to get a shot at the Good Brothers. I'd like to see that match. I really would. But lo and behold, who comes out? Matt Hardy with Private Party. Now, those who have been watching AEW Impact and AEW know that AEW and Impact have been working together. And hence the reason Kenny Omega was tagging with the Impact World Tag Team Champions, the Good Brothers. Matt Hardy, of course, is doing the Money Matt Hardy gimmick right now. And of course, Money Matt Hardy was in Impact Wrestling at some point. And excuse me, I really love the fact when they came out, this is going to be so much fun to see Money Matt Hardy and, Private Party, who are one of the best tag teams in wrestling right now, come up and try to spoil, no pun intended, the party. I enjoyed this skit. And then later on, Good Brothers said, if either one of these teams could beat us, you'll get to shot at the titles. So, of course, to see Private Party versus Beer Guns, I'll get it right one of these days, Beer Guns, in a main event which was, in all seriousness, excellent. I thought this just really worked so well for all four men. And really interesting to see Private Party as heels in a small way, because Private Party are usually faces, wherever they've gone, because they're so good at what they do. And it's hard not to cheer them. Money Matt Hardy was a heel and still is. So, Money Matt Hardy managing a face tag team has been entertaining. But Private Party during this match kind of went a bit heelish. I think that because they had to, because of where they were on Impact soil. So it worked as well. I mean, I've never seen that side of Private Party, but I thought, okay, for what they're doing, where they are, it was a good idea. And this match was superb, as I said. All four men really shined really, really well. And just after the match started, Tony Khan, who has been doing it, I should say skits in a small way, of actually paying for advertisements on Impact Wrestling advertising for All Elite Wrestling. Now, usually it's Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan standing next to each other, talking about what's coming up on Dynamite. This week it was Jerry Lynn and Tony Khan. Tony Schiavone gave him an introduction. Of course, Jerry Lynn, those who know, was one of the pioneers and originators of the X Division, which is pretty much the backbone of Impact Wrestling. So, just after the match began, Tony Khan said, we're going to go to the ring and we're going to get a close a close view, shall we say, of AEW's Matt Hardy and Private Party doing their thing. So, seeing them both ringside was kind of cool during the match, and something I didn't expect, but something really cool. But as the match went on, as I said, Private Party and Beer Guns just gelled like they've been wrestling each other for so long. And Chris Sabin is again another Impact Wrestling tag team legend, of course, with Alex Shelley. But one of these days, I really hope. I mean, obviously, before we get to this part, I really want to see AEW and Impact Wrestling keep on going because it's starting to build a little bit more, and I love it. What Kenny Omega's done with Good Brothers have done with Kenny on both Impact and Dynamite has been great. Great to see again this week. I'm pretty sure on the next episode of Dynamite, it's going to continue, and I really want it to. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Anyway, for those who've seen the finisher for Private Party, it's called Gin and Juice, which is a Hurricane Runner into an ace cutter from the top. It's really, really impressive. Chris Sabin on the turnbuckle, about to jump off the second turnbuckle. Yet Jerry Lynn, whether it's distracted, I should say, Jerry Lynn jumps over the guardrail and grabs Chris Sabin's foot, which led to Private Party hitting the Gin and Juice and pinning Chris Sabin. And the irony, the brilliance of such a simple thing, I absolutely loved it. I can't describe how much I loved it because of Jerry Lynn, being, of course, now works for AEW Wrestling, being an originator for the X Division for Impact Wrestling so many years ago. And to see him do that, I was like, whoa. That I did not expect. But I absolutely loved it. That's the kind of thing that it's been going on with the feud between AEW and Impact. That has just been an absolute joy to watch. Just little things like that. I mean, Kenny's done it as well, but now Jerry Lynn's doing it, and of course, him and Tony Khan have been at ringside watching the match, sat behind the barrier, as should we say, fans, was just amazing. This is the kind of thing in wrestling that you can't help but love, and of course, a lot of people are talking about the crossover, and I'm one of them, of course, and I want to see it continue. But after that, it's just going to elevate more and more and more. And Private Party now have a shot at the Impact World Tag Team Champions. Now, when that's going to happen, I honestly don't know, because the next pay-per-view isn't for a while. I think it's in April. But Impact Wrestling do little specials now and then. It might even happen on an episode of Impact, I don't know. But I don't think that would be right. And part of me is thinking, and I never thought I'd say this, it could possibly happen on an episode of AEW, even AEW pay-per-view, because I think their next pay-per-view, whenever it is, might be before Impact's. But this was such a unique and out-of-the-blue ending to a really, really good tag match. And as I said, Impact Wrestling are firing on all cylinders, and with this thing with AEW, it's just elevating even more and more. And it's such a good time to be wrestling fans. If you watch AEW and you watch Impact Wrestling, if you watch both, it's great. Even if you watch one or the other, it's great too. So, yeah, it's a great main event to end a very, very good episode of Impact. As I said, right now, Impacts are just really firing all cylinders. So, that's it for the review. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back. Next review, most likely, will be AEW Dynamite. I don't think there's anything else before. I'm pretty sure AEW Dynamite will be the next one I do. But as I said, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.